Let's head to the Bank of Ghana, where the governor is addressing the media.
Thank you very much, Obed. So like I said, let's be very brief with our questions. The preambles, let's be very, very brief, very straight to the point. Okay.
One.
Bobby.
Yes, hello. My name is Bobby Osei. I work with City FM and City TV. First of all, I want to start off with fuel prices. Petrol and diesel prices have risen over a 12-month period by close to 81% and 94% respectively. Now, in our the stakeholders, they called on the BOG to tweak the framework for forex auctions so that OMCs and be able to have access to the FX at a reliable rate. Is the BOG looking into something? Would they consider something like that so that they will be able to help them procure fuel with a stable FX rate? Also, I do know that there have been talks of Ghana's ability to meet its medium-term financing needs as well as our external obligations. What assurances are you willing to give to the market in terms of our ability to meet our external obligations? And just finally, on the reserves, you launched a domestic gold purchase program to more or less shore up the reserves. Where are we with that? Have we increased our pool of, should I say, gold reserves? And also, what other steps are we taking to improve our reserves position, please?
So, thank you. George, let's get ready. Yeah.
My name is Edward Nyak from Ghana Television. We've seen report this morning that after a cabinet retreat, that about $2 billion or CDs will be injected into the economy. How would that improve the CDs performance on the forex market? Thank you.
I think you should hold on.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman will provide responses to these questions. Thank you, Joe. Mr. Chairman.
Is on already? Okay, so thank you very much. I think that a lot of the questions have to do with the depreciation of the CD and what the Bank of Ghana is doing to address it, and specifically what we are doing to assist OMCs get foreign exchange, questions on where we are in terms of the domestic gold purchase program. All of them are more or less around the issue of the foreign exchange market. As you are aware, the CD came under pressure sometime in February, and the reasons for that have varied. Part of it reflects the fact that we had lost access to capital markets, and therefore we were not going to be able to issue a bond this year, which has immediate implications for the availability of foreign exchange. But as you said a few moments ago, our friend from Ghana Television, the government has announced its intention to raise $2 billion from some syndicated arrangements with banks. Now, if that goes through, that should help improve the supply of foreign exchange to the economy as a whole, and therefore should impact positively on the strength of the cedi. In terms of what the Bank of Ghana has been doing, as you're aware, we have the fortnightly foreign exchange auctions where we make foreign exchange available to the system. And in the last few weeks, past 4 weeks, we have been making special allocation to the OMCs and the energy companies, as well as the cement producing companies. I can tell you that as of last week, we had completely cleared the pipeline demand for foreign exchange from these OMCs. So what you are saying in terms of tweaking the framework for the OMCs is already in place. And I think that if you talk to the OMCs, they'll tell you that the Bank of Ghana has been making foreign exchange available to them. In addition to that, we've made foreign exchange available to the market broadly. And we think all of that should help in terms of mitigating the pace of depreciation of the cedi. Now, these are all short-term measures, immediate measures that we are taking to address the matter. But we also this morning have announced an increase in our policy rate. That action in itself should make our domestic assets more attractive and improve the incentives for investing in cedi-denominated assets. So the significant policy rate adjustment that you saw is also aimed at strengthening the cedi. Some of the medium to longer term actions, you mentioned the domestic gold purchasing program. These are things that would impact the level of gross reserves in the medium term. We've made quite some progress in terms, I think we bought over 600 kilograms of Doré gold, but this gold has to be refined to very high standards before they will qualify as a reserve asset. And we are in the process of fulfilling all the due diligence requirements that the refineries, the LBMA certified refineries in the world look out for. We are hoping, we are quite sure that in the next month or two, we would be able to export the Doré gold that we have. And once that is refined, it will become part of our gross reserves. Issues that we also discussed at this weekend retreat in the medium term is also to look at some of the retention agreements that we have with the oil marketing, with the oil drilling companies, etc. These are really medium to longer term issues which should help improve the foreign exchange earning capacity of the economy as a whole. So yes, we are quite confident that these measures would help to stabilize the cedi. If you listen to what I said that we think that the exchange rate has overshot its long-run level. And when that happens, it can only appreciate. So those that are speculating on the cedi, I think that they should be aware that the central bank thinks that the cedi has overshot its medium-term levels, and therefore we think that we can only see some appreciation in the next few quarters. So I'm not sure that you're going to win by speculating against the cedi. The issue of whether Ghana debt is distressed is neither here or there. We said that the rating companies downgraded us because of fiscal and debt sustainability issues. So these are matters that are already in the public domain. The government has announced ways in which they will deal with it. You know about the 20% expenditure cut. That's one of the measures that the government is undertaking. And I think later on this week we will hear more measures that will come out of the finance ministry. the issue of e-levy, really, I think that anything that can help raise government revenues, because this is the priority at this time. We all recognize the importance of raising revenue for the budget. Yes, we have other objectives, such as financial inclusion and all of that, but I think that the immediate priorities right now is for us to put in those measures that would allow, the government to obtain the revenues that are needed in order to address the fiscal concern, which is a matter which is of high significance for the overall Ghanaian economy. So that's what I'll say on the issue of the e-levy. Thank you.
So, George Rafi.
My name is George Rafi, Joy FM, JoyNews as well. Governor, I wanted to find out from you, with respect to these measures that you've outlined, have you given yourself any timelines or any extrapolations that by the next 2 quarters or by the next quarter, we should see that impacting on the cedi and also inflation as well? And this is a monetary measure. From what you're getting from the fiscal side as well, are you convinced that those measures can help with the situation to help stabilize things a little bit? You've announced a round of a lot of measures still on the monetary side to help with the situation. In terms of the overall FX laws and enforcing it, are we going to see things change? Because it's still a problem out there in terms of the whole dollarization of the economy, and that is also feeding into this demand, especially in the first quarter of the year. With respect to the debt numbers, again, from whatever you've gathered, does it reflect the true situation on the ground? The concern here is that maybe it's been massaged. And what do you have at your end in terms of our debt position, end of year, first 2 months of the year, please? Thank you so much.
Thank you, George. Now, Sule, get ready, and then Novan.
Good afternoon. My name is Nanoye from Asasi Radio. Governor, so we have witnessed a situation where the policy rate has been reduced several times, but the banks failed to reduce their cost of credit. Now that you have increased it by 250 basis points, will they at least try not to increase it too high? I'm talking for those of us who would want to go to the banks for some loans. So, and somebody was telling me a while ago that he was trying to get a loan from a bank and they were reluctant. Were they waiting for an announcement so they could increase their cost? My second question has to do with the Freedom Coin. You cautioned us not to do business with those who are promoting it because you have not approved it. Beyond the caution, what more are you doing? Because it's all over social media and some people may fall prey. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sule.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Suleiman Mustafa. Just a couple of questions. Governor, in the absence of a Eurobond issuance for 2022, what is the outlook for the country's external account balances, particularly with respect to our reserves? And then with this hike, 250 basis points hike in the policy rate, is the Bank of Ghana also concerned that this also poses threat to fiscal debt sustainability, particularly through high interest payments? And lastly, the government has announced a 20% spending cut. As the government's exchequer, can you please give us an early indication of the implementation of this 20% cut? And perhaps let me just create your indulgence that I know that Madam Isi Amond is retiring from the bank this year. On behalf of myself and my colleagues who wish her well, I know that this is her last MPC meeting. And so, we just want to take this opportunity to wish her well in her future endeavor. Thank you so much.
Sule, thank you. I beg you, let's be very brief also with our questions because of time. Novan, very brief.
My name is Novan Akwahefort with Novan Report. Mr. Governor, according to the IMF, the e-Naira may reduce demand for deposits in commercial banks, and this is because the e-Naira, they say, will effectively be seen as deposits with the Central Bank of Nigeria resulting in funds transfers from accounts into this wallet that was being created. Now, we are also going to be launching our ECD. And I wanted to know from the bank if you're expecting to face the same challenge and what would be the measures that you put in place to prevent that.
No, thank you. David Hudson, very brief.
Bonjour, mon gouverneur, et bonne année. L'Ukraine has been a major arms manufacturer globally. And now we find that the Ukraine and Russia are exporting wheat, fertilizers, and things like that. Now they've kicked out major importers like Canada. We were importing wheat from Canada much earlier, and fertilizer from France, for example. Now, you're paying for all these imports for Ghana, the Bank of Ghana, and can we see the change in this, or the dichotomy that we are now going towards the East, Russia and Ukraine for wheat and fertilizers instead of our traditional supplies like Canada and France. Now, secondly, the e-levy, can it be put in another form, or can we call it maybe a street tax? Because it seems to be a lot of confusion coming out of the e-levy. Thank you, my governor. Merci.
Thank you very much. Echo.
Thank you, Governor. Governor, the inflation rate that has necessitated your hike, it's more of a supply side thing. How does this affect access to finance for private sector, our engine of growth, and growth for that matter? And you mentioned about 600 kilograms of gold that you are exporting to get it refined, then it becomes dowry gold before added to the reserves. I want some clarity, because I also know that we have a refinery just next door that should be outdoored sometime this year. So some clarity on that would help. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Justice. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Justice, very brief. Justice, please go ahead very briefly, and we'll have feedback
Thank you very much. Yes.
Our chairman. Thank you very brief. Thank you.
Okay, two short questions. A further clarity on the e-levy issue. Some people have said that the volume of, that is the value of money that goes to the, how do you call it, mobile money system that is reported each year is sometimes the same amount of money that has been going around. And that is the projection on which the government has based this 7%, 7 billion Ghana cedis on. But so when they are going to tax e-levy, it will be the taxing the same amount of money that is going around in different hands. We want to get a clarity on that. That is the Bank of Ghana's position. Secondly, somebody has asked me to ask you, with the new requirements for opening bank account with the Ghana cedi, if a foreigner wants to open an account in Ghana today, a resident foreigner, what does he need to do that? Thank you.
Thank you, Justice. Mr. Chairman, we'll take your response. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, the last question that came in on foreigners opening bank account, that's quite straightforward, because the foreigners also have Ghana cards issued to them, right? Yes, they are allowed to have Ghana cards issued to them as resident foreigners, and therefore they shouldn't have any problem opening bank accounts. Now let me start with Joy FM, the question on whether the measures that we have implemented have timelines and our assessment of whether the monetary and fiscal measures will be able to deal with the situation that we are faced with. In terms of the measures that we have announced on the liquidity side for the banks, raising the reserve requirements to 12% for banks, that's one measure that we would be evaluating its impact on the banks and how that impacts on the liquidity of banks. So that would be reviewed at the next Monetary Policy Committee, and that's when we will decide on whether to keep it at 12% or not. So that obviously is, in a sense, time-bound. The policy rate adjustments that we have announced, as well as the fiscal measures that are being taken, have an impact of withdrawing stimulus from the economy. And that type of stimulus withdrawal should be able to impact on aggregate demand and therefore deal with the inflation pressures that we are seeing. And George, if the question is whether we think that these measures would be effective, I believe this is the question you are asking. We have made the assessment that a policy rate adjustment of 250 basis points should be effective. But we are complementing that also with the liquidity, withdrawal from the banks, because this would require the banks to hold more CDs with the central bank, and those CDs will not be available out there chasing goods and services or foreign exchange for that matter. So all of that would really help deal with the aggregate demand pressures that we are dealing with. But this also relates to Bloomberg's question that the inflation that we are seeing is a supply side problem. I don't agree with that assessment. There are the supply side issues, but we are also looking at the second round effects of oil adjustments, transportation price adjustments, and how all of that is influencing inflation expectations. So yes, there may be a supply side aspect to it, but in order to get it to be sustained, you need that initial commodity shock, propagate itself in the system, and this is what monetary policy normally would deal with. This issue about the Dory gold that we are going to be exporting to be refined outside. We have to do that because the refinery in Ghana is not LBMA certified.
So you have the governor of the Bank of Ghana, Ernest Addison, who's been addressing the media, and he's been saying that in a few weeks' time, we should begin to see some stabilization of the economy. He talked about the exchange rate, which he says has overshot its medium-term level, and for that matter, some appreciation is imminent shortly. He's also indicated that government has agreed to look at the retention agreements, some of the retention agreements with regards to the soaring prices of petroleum products. These are measures he says would yield positive results in no time.